Hello, all. I am Jeff Shapiro. I am the VP of Talent Strategy and Delivery at Lloyd. We are on the third-party agency side of staffing, recruiting, workforce planning, whether that is short-term projects with temps, consultants, interns, fractional, or your traditional direct hire FTE employees.
Awesome. Now, I am very excited about this conversation because you have a background that is very diverse in terms of industry and in-house versus third party or staff augmentation recruiting. So I'm very excited. You've been a leader in both types of organizations. So you were healthcare, fintech, which are two of the biggest hiring employers right now. So I'm very excited. So let's just kick it off with question one. Digital natives are now the majority of the workforce, and soon they'll make up 75%. From a recruiting perspective, how is that shifting the way you evaluate candidates? And are you seeing any new risks emerge now that more of our lives are playing out online?
So I thought about this for a while. Digital narratives, let's call out, they're not new. Um, Digital narratives are just, they're fake. Everybody lives their best life on social forever. So what we in recruitment need to do is just get laser focused on what we are actually evaluating. The shift I have seen, and I am hopeful about, is that whether it's agency or in-house TA, they're becoming much more savvy, much more of a business partner versus what people think they are, checking a box. Do you have 3 years of experience? Are you willing to commute to this location? Or does the salary match what you are looking for? Great, talk to the hiring manager. I have forever said the recruiter's job is to dig deeper. If you're on the in-house side, you really need to evaluate, can and will this person execute on the organization's mission, vision, and values? The hiring manager is the one who has to determine if they have the hardcore skills to do the job.
I love that. And thank you for giving both sides. Appreciate it. Do you currently evaluate candidates for culture ads or culture risks? And if so, how are you doing this? And where do you think there are still blind spots?
I love this. Blind spots are going to be everywhere. Every person has subconscious biases, whatever they are. That is the risk. The way to enhance it is to recognize your bias and work towards mitigating it. Um, a lot of times, it's all about skilled interviewers. So a lot of people constantly lead the witness to give the answer that the job seeker knows the hiring manager wants to hear. What we need to do is look for contrary evidence. So an example I use all the time. This doesn't matter if you are in-house or corporate. Think of a high volume recruiting situation, contact center, call center. A lot of times a recruiter or hiring manager is going to say something like, this job requires you spend 8 hours a day on the phone. How do you feel about that? Well, I want the job. Of course, I'm going to say I have no problem doing that. But I've never done that before. Now I'm in this situation, and oh no, I don't really know what I got myself into. So the way we improve on that is improving on our interviewability. Hey, in your previous role, how much time did you spend on the phone? What was your volume of inbound versus outbound calls? Were there any performance metrics that were tracked? Do you happen to know your first call resolution? What was the duration time of a call? And you'll know if somebody can handle that 100 inbound calls versus I answered the phone 10 times a day, but I made 80 outbound calls. Two very different things. 90 phone calls a day, 100 phone calls a day sounds almost identical, but actually only answering the phone 10 times and calling out 80 is very different than
That's
answering 100 phone calls a day with angry customers.
true. I love that. And I love the way you framed it and reframed the question to get to the same answer. That's awesome. All right, we're going to move on to, I think, my favorite question. We often learn about red flags too late after someone's already been hired. I call it hiring Kanye. Have you seen a situation where a hidden behavior became a problem shortly after post hire? And what, if anything, would you have wanted to know sooner?
Yes, all the time. Like we're dealing with people. People don't shock me anymore, ever. Um, I, I can make an argument for getting better at it on the front end and or not. I definitely think it requires some sort of behavioral interview training specific to whatever these behaviors were red flags in the future. The reason I would go that way is because I know for sure there are organizations that deploy things on the front end, and it's supposed to be a data point, not a deciding factor. And more often than not, it becomes the deciding factor. Um, One that I know of without particulars was, hey, we're going to pass on this person because in their disc assessment, they didn't come across as collaborative. Like the disc assessment was supposed to be after the time of offer. It's supposed to be a data point for how you're going to be working with this person. It just became a deciding factor for why you didn't offer somebody a job. So I could go either way on if you really should start doing things like this and how granular you should get. But I think phase one is just really skilled behavioral interviewing and getting better at listening and asking follow-up questions specific to whatever that person's concern is from something that happened in the past, which is also right there a bias as well. Hey, we're looking for this because the person who was here before did XYZ. I need to make sure that doesn't happen again. That was that person. It doesn't necessarily mean the next person is going to be the same thing.
Love that. And that's a great segue into my next question. If you had the ability to see early signs of workplace misconduct that would not show up on a traditional background screening or before someone accepts an offer of employment, which is what you just pointed out, what impact do you think that would have on your talent strategy? And again, you could speak to this from both the in house and third party perspective.
Ugh, so hard to answer. I would need a large size of data to figure out like, is this really a problem? Then we need to look at also why it's a problem internally, why it's not being fixed. We probably need to tap our HRBPs, the L&D teams, and come up with facilitating some sort of content and training on fixing whatever that was. But I also recognize, like, again, people, and sometimes people are really good interviewers and you don't really get to see who they are until they're 30, 45, 60, or 90 days in seat. So, like, my short answer in this long-winded paragraph is hiring is so hard already. Like, we make it so hard and it doesn't need to be that hard. That just adding something on the front end again is just making this person jump through a hoop. I don't think I could ever get on board with that. I don't love the circus of three interviews, a fifth interview now. Now you need to give us this live assessment. Now we're going to give you this sort of competency-based test. It's really, really hard for job seekers. I'm not in favor of making it harder.
Okay, I like your answer. And since you brought it up, would you be excited about having, as you call it, that large quantity of data that would help you close the gap, not necessarily make it the applicants or the candidates' responsibility to do something to gather data, but if you had a way to get that data to close the gap, would you be excited about that?
I would love stuff. So that's stuff I geek out over. I would
Okay.
look at it to figure out like where is the problem, what is the issue, and how could we fix it with the resources we have in place, and or bringing in an external person to then do that advise and release. Here's everything you need to know. Fix it. You're on your own. It's not a full-time hire. If we could figure out what the problem is through information like this, yes, I think every organization should do that.
I love it. Thank you so much for your very candid and very insightful responses and for taking the time to hang out with me today, even though it's just a little while. I truly appreciate you. And thanks everyone else for tuning in.